Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome each and every one of you for Mental Health Webinar Series 2020-2025. Today, we are on session 1746 on topic the developmental years. How important is it for mental health? With our honorable resource person, Dr. Alok Bajpai, sir. Like to welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Then
Thank
we
you
would
very
like
much.
to welcome all other organizers, participants, and coordinating team members on behalf of the American College Madurai in association with Elopan Counseling Center Chennai, Tegan Positive Mental Health Practitioner Association, Telangana. Now a short intro about today's resource person, Dr. Alok sir. He is a consultant psychiatrist, educator of IIT Kanpur, and he also has apart from practicing general psychiatry, he has consistent focus of his work has been with child and adolescent mental health, and he has instrumental in putting together many awareness campaigns and workshops, especially with schools and as trained teachers. And he also focus on life skills for the process of critical thinking, and he also has interest on cinema, and he has special passion with Alok or the transformational process of the mind to enhance inner harmony and peace as Mahatma Gandhi remains his leitmotif and example. And his understanding of Gita has resulted in popular workshops. And he is also a TEDx speaker. With that short intro, I would like to hand the session to you, sir. Happy to
Thank
have you,
you.
sir. The floor is
Thank you.
yours.
Thank you very much. So, as I said, if some more of you can put on your videos, we'll have more life here. Otherwise, it appears as a black hole with few stars here. Yes, wonderful. So, when Anita asked me, what topic on mental health, so I thought it was a time about 15 days back when one of the most noted film director of this country, Mr. Shyam Benegal, passed away. That was on 23rd. 23rd of January, of December. And so I had gone to see his family and all that stuff. And this thing suddenly came into my mind because I will just share this small thing about him. He was brought up in Hyderabad, and his father had a small 16 camera at that time and used to make films for his family. And he made a friend with a projectionist in a cinema hall. And from 6, 7 years of his age, he used to 6, 7 years of age, he used to go and watch cinema. The first film he made was when he was 12 years old. So he was not stopped from exploring cinema or with camera. And that was very young from by all standards. And he was born in 1934. During that time, if he had an environment where he was exposed to this, and he told us also in a lot of his interviews that cinema took over his head very early, and he considered a lot of other vocations like teaching economics, and then he came to Mumbai and all that story. So if you look at his life, and I know few other people, it appears they were destined to. In our common language, we would say they were destined. But I was thinking in a different way. One another person who was exposed to his art very early in childhood, not childhood, right from the birth, I should say, was Zakir Hussain. It is said that when a kid is born, and if some guru type of person speaks something in the ear, just as a ritual both in Hindus and Muslims, Zakir's father said he should listen to the tal of the tabla. And then from early childhood, it was tabla, and you know what Zakir Hussain was. So this question I had been asking myself also, and one of the robust findings, which a lot of research is being done on it, is what does a childhood mean? We all know Sigmund Freud for that matter, who said the story of an adult is written in the childhood. But that was from a angle of psychology. But do we have a proof of it, or is it true? So I'll try and put some things in front of you, and then we can have more questions. So please feel free to just unmute, raise your hand, or ask me something in between also. I don't have many slides, there's just few slides. So I want to set the whole frame of what we mean by today's topic. And this question of mine, whether the exposure to these people like Chamban Eagles and Zakir Hussain, the exposure to this thing really made their brain network into what they were, or was it something else? A lot of people, we all know that Hindu thought system believes that there is something called prarabdha and purusharth. Prarabdha means what you are born with, that you have a certain temperament, a certain predilection, a certain template, and a certain destiny which you have to follow, and you are born to do that. That is a belief. But also, if that is the belief, in modern terms, where they're talking about genetics, say 20, 30 years back, there was a huge push of genetics, which said that everything is genetic and it's just unfolding of the genetic template which makes you into whatever you are. But 10 years later, things have slightly mellowed down. Because what you have realized is not only genes, it's the interaction of gene with the environment. And it is, I mean, it's very difficult to decide what percentage, but it is a gene environment, which means epigenetics also plays a form. Epigenetics is all that goes and influences genetics, right from the chemistry to toxins to trauma to anything which alters genes. Because once it alters gene, the expression of gene changes, and then the whole trajectory goes into a different direction. In broad terms, it is a debate which is still there called nature or nurture. Hardcore reductionist biologists will say it is nature. You're born with a genetic unfolding and you will become what you are destined to become through your genes, if not stars, if not prarabdha, at least the genetic unfolding. Well, a lot of illnesses of childhood also appear through genetics. And people who believe in behaviorism, Skinner's behaviorism, they say it's all nurture. You train people, expose them, and so the debate has finally settled down somewhere in between now. Between this nature and nurture debate is right now, as we understand, can safely be said that both contribute, the genetics and the environment, the nature and nurture both. But I mean, this is just a very simplified way of saying things. Things are pretty more complicated. I have few slides. I will try to. Can you see my slides here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's readable, huh? Okay, wonderful. How many of you believe this sentence? Man is a social being. You believe it? Yeah. Do you believe this sentence? Any of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, what is it? Is it a psychological statement or a sociological statement, or what is it?
We are interdependent as well as independent. So we are partially only a social being. We are also individuals, no?
Right.
To some
So,
extent, only society can model us, or we can
right.
model from society.
Right.
But most of it is being an independent being first, and then interdependent being.
Ah,
And
you
third one is the dependent being also.
Alokji,
Yes, sir.
Alokji,
Yes, sir.
I'm sure that is you must be aware of the old story, real life story.
Yes.
From sometime around 1960s or 70s,
Yes.
some 11 or 12-year-old boy was found in the jungle walking along with wolves.
Yes.
And that boy was walking on his four limbs, making
Yes.
these noises just like the wolf and
Because
everything. So it is nurturing there.
Right.
It is nurturing
Right.
environment.
Right. You know, in this vitiated environment of today's world, I should tell you this story. When you talk of learning modules, there was this Emperor Akbar. We all know Akbar. Akbar was very curious about this statement, and he was wondering that what are the learning models and how do people learn? Whether people learn through nurture, nature, or what exactly is happening. So, in near his capital of Agra, in Sikri, in Fatehpur Sikri, he said that okay, some kids should be put there, and these kids should be not spoken to. They would be provided food, security, warmth, everything. No, not human interaction. Interaction in the sense of talking and all. After some days, this experiment had to be abandoned because they discovered that no child was developing. And in fact, and this experiment goes in all textbooks of learning, Akbar's experiment. But this, what you said, that independent and interdependent is very important. But I think that man is a social being is a biological statement. Because if you look at the evolution of human being, in fact, maybe at the beginning there were one or two people, but as the population grew, we started living together, and being together also was an impetus to develop communicative language beyond the groans and cooing of the birds. Being together has been one of the major strength of human race to survive against all other animal species. Being together, now it's a chicken and egg thing. We have mirror neurons. Mirror neurons simply means that we have set of neurons in our head, which if suppose you express sadness on your face, I will also feel it. I will also, my areas of brain which control or evoke that emotion of sadness will also get evoked. Even while I'm moving this hand, and if you're watching me, the area of the brain which is controlling this hand movement in your head would also get activated. And this has been proven not only in humans, but also primates like monkeys and all. Even a movement by a robo's hand activates the same movement in the monkey's head. This all is done. The direct corollary of this mirror neurons is that human beings have something called theory of mind or empathy. Empathy is a very, very specific human trait. But how does it come in? We can't go and train you. We can increase our empathy to being a Christ or a Gandhi or whatever, but we all have certain amount of empathy. If somebody is sad, you will become sad. Somebody is happy, To certain extent, at a very, very physiological level, animals also have this. But animals do not have a meaning or a cognitive part of it. They have an emotional part of empathy. So when you say man is a social being, social is more a cognitive framework, but it comes from biology. So man is a social being, and in fact, if you get into a deeper analysis, basic two fear which haunt people. One is a fear of death, which is universal. All animals have it. We have it. In fact, all our efforts to leave a legacy and do this or do that and get into some position is all about in a response to fear of extinction, whatever levels, insecurity. You call it insecurity. The other fear is the fear of being left alone. And even by personal experience, you can. So, no man is an island in that sense. And what you were saying, that we need to be independent and we need to be dependent. Between the dialectics of this, we survive. We need to belong. And maybe I'm not saying that need is a biological. It may have started when people started living in community, and over millions of years, our neural networks have formed that once a child is born, and as Sir said, that we leave it in wolves, it still has company. I'm not saying the need to be with humans, the need to be with living beings. In total isolation, people may still survive physically with food and all, but what happens to their brain is a wild, wild guess. So, if it is a social being, and this is one of the most robust finding we have had in neuroscience now, that early childhood experiences, we are back to Freud now, early childhood experiences form the basic template of the type of adult you're going to be. But where is this coming from? This developmental history, the word which I bring in, is the wiring of the brain. See, when you're born, the 10 to the power 11 neurons are there in the place, wherever they have to belong within the skull. But not all of them are into a network. Each network is developing, which will determine your behavior by experience. Whatever goes into your mind, brain, a touch, a smile, a laugh, a pain, a trauma, anything, that is our developmental history. Or in simple words, you can call it early childhood experiences. There was a big project happening at NIMHANS, Bangalore, where kids of people who had alcohol problems, they were being monitored for genetically and physiologically and imaging, and see what patterns do they. So their pattern shows that they internalize all these experiences, and that becomes a trauma for them. But you should also see most of the animals, they are born in a mature stage of physical development. And so very soon after birth, they can get back to walking or flying or whatever part of movement they are in the nature. But it is human beings who are born who are actually, in fact, let me say this, we are all premature in that sense. The problem is the full maturity will come at 18 months. And by becoming a bipedal, we were all tetrapeds, by becoming a bipedal, the woman cannot hold the fetus in the womb for 18 months. Otherwise, she would not be able to walk. The pelvis has to be very broad, and so she would waddle rather than walking. And waddling is not what human beings do. So, a premature birth, what we call a full-term birth by 9 months, is in fact, if you see it in a great evolutionary perspective, it's a premature. All of us are born premature. And we are born incomplete. We need so much care for the next 9 months to even survive. Now, that is a trade-off for being on two legs and doing a lot of other things, and the body restricted, pelvis also got restricted. So it's all happening in evolution. Now, for that, rest of the 9 months is required outside. That is where all the nature nurture things come in. So if you ask me, so as I said, neurons are in place, but networks develop in close interaction with environmental inputs. So all what we call conditioning, and a child who is born, a neonate, has a lot of neurons. The networks form as things go into the head, and by 16, 17, 18, the more or less the networks are formed. They are actually overgrown, and then the brain starts shrinking. Actually, brain starts shrinking at 18 years of age, and rest of the life it keeps. But by that time, the critical periods when you challenge the environment challenges the mind, and the brain forms pattern of firing, which we call memory. But if you ask me, when does it start? At what age? At what age it is important that we should take care to bring in what we call a healthy human being? Now, don't call it normal. Normal, abnormal. Normal may be unhealthy also, because majority is doing something that doesn't make it healthy. But for a mental health purpose, or we say somebody who is balanced and somebody who has adequate um, reaction to stress, emotional regulation. How many of you believe that a child is born with certain personality, and how many of you believe that it is totally the environment which does it? Any idea? Does the child have a personality when the child is born?
Sir, actually, personality in itself is an acquired aspect. So,
Yeah. So what is
it's not
child
in-
born with?
certain characteristics of just resemblance, and also some kind of the posters in which the baby is used to lie down.
So so that is a physical thing,
Yeah, it's a physical thing.
mentally. So they're
Sir,
born with
it
any
can be
particular.
trait. It can be trait.
So what you're saying is essentially is what we call temperamental traits.
Yes, yes, sir.
Each child, all of us are born with temperaments, right? Temperament is genetic. It's very specific to us. What does temperament include? It includes emotional stability, not stability, the emotional state, predominant emotional state, how the body and mind responds to stress, right? How So there are some neonates who are very pleasant, where some infants are very pleasant, some are very cranky, right? Without any physical reason or anything. This type of There are about 9 things out of them. The activity level, how active or overactive the kid is. So we have some certain 9-10 parameters which are temperamental, which are seen in all kids, but all kids vary in that. So you're born with this temperament, and then all this environmental input forms you, what you call yourself. So an infant in first year may not have a self. A neonate, while at the time of birth, may not have a self, because self, as I said, is the patterns of behavior and firing patterns in the brain which are formed in conjunction with the environment. So your self is slowly formed by the time you become 17, 18, and so on and so forth. So your self is nothing but the memory of all the experiences. So when you grow up, if something goes into your vision or your hearing or any experience, it is compared with the self, and the self is a memory. You understand? So that is, you're not born with it, but you slowly brain networks form it. So when do you think it becomes important that we take care of the environment to which a child is being exposed to make it
Yes,
healthy?
yes, sir, definitely.
When what time during the birth or in womb
6
or whatever?
years.
Sir, it starts from the conception point itself because the mother's environment also influences the
Yes, yes,
fetal growth.
yes. So that's why I tell all mothers that when you become pregnant, please be very happy. Listen to good music. Keep your mood okay. Don't fight with your mother-in-law in India. Don't get into the mess of things around. But no mother listens. So I have a very, very crazy theory that all the chaos of this country is because mothers during the pregnancy have not kept silent in their head. So it starts from the 48th day when the brain is started forming, in the first 3 months when the brain is developing, and then the last trimester also, because mother's stress alters the fluid, amniotic fluid, which is covering the womb. Cortisol level, steroid level goes up, other chemicals get toxic things, and it alters the brain network of the child. It starts there, mother's well-being. And then the first, we thought, when is it happening? Is it happening at 15, 10, 6? But then, as science indicates, research indicates, is the first 6, 7 years. First 6, 7 years of life are very important. What you are being told, what you're being exposed to, the emotional environment, the way people relate to you, the way your mother talks to you, the way everything happening. The traumatic childhood experiences during this period creates individuals in future who are either who have internalized the trauma, become sad, lack of confidence, uh, obsessive, social anxiety, or externalized with conduct disorders, anger outbursts, antisocial, because any of this thing can trigger any gene set also. Not a single gene. No single gene is responsible for anything. But so this is the type of interaction which is happening. Okay. Why it is important for mental health? Coming to the part 2. Because, I mean, look at this question which I put. We are talking about ethics and morality and this and that, and this is right and that is right. Who knows? Whose reality and whose morality we are talking about? When we know that the human brain is not, human being is not existing in isolation. It is embedded in its context and all the relationships and relational thing. Except for that, the brain has to, so what is common in all human beings is the need for survival, emotions, and rest of it, what you do is in the context. Somebody in America would have been taught like differently, and somebody would have been in India has been taught differently. Somebody in Tamil Nadu is being taught differently. In Kashmir, that is the layer of conditioning and culture over and above the biology. The biology is universal for everybody. Same experience and your genetic physical brain, they interact to formulate your basic temperament. And then the cultural thing, what is being taught to you? An Indian kid is taught in a different way, an American different. That is the cultural thing which has more or less similarity in cultures, but expression is different. And over and above that is all this civilizational thing, whether you become an engineer or a painter or a teacher or you become a politician, and what ism you are following, all that is superficial structure which doesn't mean anything. So there's no absolute. And when we know that the human brain, so when people say detach, a lot of spirituality will talk about detach. My question to them is very, very simple. Detach how? And detach from what? You have been born and brought up embedded in all the experiential life which you have seen around you. And what are you going to detach from? You can live in isolation, but you will still need people. You can cognitively say, I will not relate, I will not talk or do all these things, but you can't escape. There is no way. Detachment can be at a very, very superficial level of cognitive thing that, okay. Now, so I think what they talk about detachment is what you can control your reaction to the external environment as you grow up, when you are grown up. You can't detach because detachment means loss of memory. So when somebody has dementia, a person with dementia is detached. A person with autism, a kid with autism is detached because they are not bothered. They are just not relating to it. But we, even if we can detach from the surface, inside us, we keep, like somebody says something to you and which you don't like, and maybe in a close relationship. So you can detach from what the person has said, maybe after training, but that will also go on in your head for a long time. You can't detach from the person. Why it is important? Because I bring in the second word called morality. Where does the morality arise? Morality would have arisen in some people initially when they did something and there was an environmental feedback. Like you hit somebody, the person is crying, that is a feedback which your brain doesn't like. And that is what I wonder when people do violence. When you are doing violence, you get a feedback of discomfort in your head. And then you realize that, okay, this is discomfort, I should not repeat it. That is the seed of morality. Because this is a reward system in the brain, dopamine regulated. And because of this dopamine regulation, there is a reward center and a punishment center. So what you do, you may feel good, but if the environment is giving you a feedback of this is not right, you feel a discomfort. You can override that discomfort and keep doing it again. But most of us stick to not doing these things. Okay, I have hurt somebody, I'll try not to. You may forget it at the time of anger, because that we talked last time, because emotions take over and you react to emotions. But you still know that this is not right. That is the seed of morality. So even our morality is not a biological thing. Morality is coming from society, from the environment. See how we are embedded in society, how we are embedded in the environment against it. Because all this is, so what we call an I, self, is a mixture of all the conscious and unconscious experiences. And we are always experiencing things in a very, very short period of time. The problem is in that short period, we are moving to future, thinking about future and governed by memory. But where is the memory coming from? Memory is again coming from the environment of your past experiences. Now, all these terms, I will not delve into it. One of the words which is becoming very, very important, social emotional learning in schools and all, SEL, which essentially involves self-awareness, self-management, reasonable decision making. My contention is very simple. And my contention is, okay, now you can put on your videos, huh? That will be interesting now. My contention is that when you talk about emotional learning and self-awareness and judgment and decision making and all that, when there is a problem which comes to us or psychologists or clinics, you go back, I ask parents, why isn't your kid able to take decision? Why? Because they've not been taught simply. Because when they're growing up, when they should be taking decision and those decisions should be in conjunction or interaction or whatever with parents, parents will poke into everything. Why are you wearing a red socks over a blue shoe? Indian parents so will go to whatever extent to control their kids. But let the kid do it. Let the kid learn that when he goes out, the peer group or somebody will laugh at him. That will be experience. Failure is an experience. We do not allow our kids to go through the full repertoire of experience. That is the problem with us. But this happens very early in childhood till 6-7 years. If you want to train kids, if you want to train people who are mentally healthy, who will consider other human beings as human beings, who can take some decision making, who can develop empathy towards the others, it is a very early childhood where you should be working. Schools till class 5th. The problem is that all this drama starts when the kid has already grown up in class 11, 12th. And then adults, and now you change it, you detach, you should consider. How can you develop empathy? You don't know what empathy is. You never experienced it. Nobody's ever told you. right? Especially it happens with women. I'm sure it happens. All women know this. When they start becoming girls, their whole behavior and decision making, most of the Indian families will do a lot of tampering with their decision making. So by the time they grow up by 20, they seem to be deciding, but their every decision has their mother, father, society, religion, every damn thing going on to your head. So most of the women, actually in the crisis, their mind freezes. And that is coming from all this experience. That whatever you decide, you are not able to execute it. Or if you decide something, somebody will say, do this, do that, sit like this, don't go out, come back at 7. All that nonsense which you all know. And suddenly you ask a kid when the kid is around 17 or something, now you decide what you want to do in life. How can they decide? They have not taken any decision in their life. If you go back and see, all their decisions have been tempered. And now you put it into the mental health circuit. People who have not decided for about 10, 12 years of their life, they will grow up and run the country. You trust them? You trust them? They can't decide. They have not been trained to decide. What decisions will these leaders take? So, trust me, objective decision making is not a prerogative of Indians. I'm not saying it's good or bad. We are very, very emotional people. Emotions ride our mind. And if you don't believe, read any newspaper. See the type of discourse which leaders are doing. See the type of stuff. See the type of stuff which people are talking. And you think they're taking objective decision. Not at all. They don't have the capacity. I'm not saying they're not intelligent. They don't have the capacity for objective decision. They have not been taught. You see what is being taught to kids till 6, 7, 8 years of age. What? These are the worst things are being taught. Instead of teaching kids how to take every fact into account and do a decision which is most useful for yourself and to others, what are we teaching? I will not say these words, but it is happening. You believe this, you believe that, because I am saying I am this, I am that. Why are you telling kids all this? They will discover. They'll discover God when it comes to it. And anyway, whether you have discovered yourself or not, you don't know God and you want to tell a kid how to believe in God. You know Swami Vivekananda, you all have heard of him, isn't it? You know what? He was hunting for God. He was a very bright man, very sharp and almost volcanic. He jumped into a river, swam in the night, went to a boat where Rabindranath Tagore's father was staying. And he said, people call you Maharishi, have you seen God? At night, if you suddenly go and ask somebody who thinks he's a Maharishi, he got rattled. He said, sit. He said, no, you have seen or not? He said, no. Before he could reply, Vivekananda said, you haven't seen it. He jumped back and swam back. How did he become a disciple of Paramahansa? Well, Paramahansa was evolved. He said, this is not the question whether I have seen or not, whether you want to see it or not. Because you understand, so a lot of this good, great stories, we feel very happy because some people in the history of human race, just handful of people, handful. The rest, all of them are frauds who say they are enlightened and they are teaching God, and they're all frauds. They don't nothing. Handful of people, by their own fire within, broke this conditioning which was given to them in the childhood. And they met people who could help them break that conditioning. I think they were the only mentally healthy people. Rest, we think we are doing something, but we are so determined by our conditioning. Now, as psychologist, as psychiatrist, as mental health professional, you go back and examine this. When you are talking to your client or doing anything, just see when the person is talking to you, how much that person is talking, which are his own thoughts, and how much it is that he has imbibed. There can be I'm not saying this can be isolated, totally creative thought. It can be, but it has to build on something. There has to be a template on which. So in that sense, this, sir, I often wonder that when people talk about intellectual property rights, I seriously want to ask them, where did you bring it from? It has seeds somewhere else. But then people want to claim it. Anyway, that is all a game. But so if you want to get mentally healthy people, at some point of time, first, the best thing is give them a warm, loving, empathetic environment from the womb itself. Second, as they grow up, they should be allowed to explore, decide small things in there, and their decision making should not be challenged or overruled. You can't discuss it with a small kid, but give alternatives. Show the kids a lot of alternatives, and they will immediately. See, our brain is what we call a conscious brain is doing nothing. It is just choosing an action on the probabilities existing in your brain. This or this, valence, non-valence, eat, not eat, drink, not drink. Brain is automatically deciding. We are flowing with it without putting their head. It's not needed. You don't need so much information. But for other things, small kids should be encouraged to decide. A kid is not writing. What we do, we bring to a psychiatrist, not writing, not doing this. Now explore. Check out the alternative. Now, experientially, when they will learn, by the time they become adults, they would know that this is how you decide. This decision will make. This is critical thinking. This is critical thinking. What else is critical thinking? Critical thinking is deciding between your greed and your need. What is required for you, what is not. We are all the time filled with trash. And more so now, it is very important that we do this because the invasion of mobile, cellular, WhatsApp, now as an information flowing, and small kids start using what the phone and the games, and people are trying to revise psychology, the cognitive scientists, by developing games. Now, same games you want to stop in kids, and by the same games you want to explore anxiety and all. I mean, this is the schizophrenic paradox. I don't know. I seriously don't understand. There's a kids are telling me they are doing the PhDs, and we are trying to explore the trait anxiety. How? We have devised a game. Huh? Uncertainty in the game, and then they want to assess. Now, uncertainty in the game, and life is uncertain. Nature has made uncertain. We want certainty and reduce ambiguity. You are creating more ambiguity with the mobile. And in the future world, when they put a chip in your head, will you be bombarded by internet all the time? How are you going to train people? And what mental health we are talking about? Crash it, finish, stop mental health. I'm seriously advocating these days. Stop this drama of mental health, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry, counselors and psychologists are hanging like fruits from trees. Rest of the spiritual leaders are doing it. Everybody has jumped into this foray of mental health. I think it's very, very ill defined. That people don't know what mental health is. And how are you going to train them when there is a bombardment of mobile and internet and all that? You tell them, so, okay, this is good, decide. So you have workshops which say how to make decision. And in the homes, you don't allow people to decide. You say, don't play games. And then you're devising games to assess psychology. What are we talking about? I think we are in a very, very bad times. Very, very bad times. In the sense of all structure of sensible science, of psychology, everything will be demolished. And professionals will be confused as never ever before, because you will not be able to differentiate what is healthy and normal, what is abnormal, and that will create a mess. I have no problem with it. My problem is very simple. If human beings have to survive, in a coming world where AI and all these things are very important, right? Do we conserve the capacity of the mind? Do we make it stronger? Do we preserve what is human vis-a-vis what machine is doing? If we have to do that, and we need some individuals 20, 30 years from now who will be thinking and not enslaved by the external environment and information. Because you see, our value system, I'm not saying Indian value system, I'm saying our value system of making somebody human is a slow process. The bombardment which technology is doing is faster and glamorous and more attractive and more addictive. So you have a big fight. These things which are being developed are aimed at one simple thing, that more and more people in the future should become numb and dumb, so that they don't think on their own. Whatever the corporations or the markets will tell them, just obey that. We as human beings have evolved in 4.5 million years or billion years. We have to decide whether we want more human beings, then restart. Restart. Keep them away from gadgetry, early childhood. It's not important. Teach them how to be human, how to relate to other human beings. Don't teach them subjects. I go to every school and tell them, please, till 9 years, teach them philosophy, teach them archaeology, show them seasons, teach them classical music, teach them painting, teach them what is life all about. Tell them that the biology brings in life, we live for culture. Teach them culture. And then these kids should be taught subjects. These will be the kids who will be more human than us. And they'll be the only people who will be able to survive the thrust of technology. They may eventually do technology, that is not the issue. But they will at least know how to use it. Most of us don't know how to use it. We are just, things get into our head and we, like blind people, keep doing it. So I think if future mental health will depend on how we shape things now, and allow your kids to take risks, to fail, to be there, to take decisions, to explore things, and they will study when they have to. There is no hurry. There's a full life you can enjoy. You can study till late. So then I think this whole debate, but the problem again is that, yeah, it is a very, very deep, intense effort, and people have to be conscious about doing all these things. Somebody is writing, what, Japanese schools do the same style? Yeah. But Japanese have a problem. You know what is the problem? Can you tell me what is the problem? They do this, Revati, they do these good things when they're bringing up the child, because they have a lot of Buddhist influence. But as the kid grows, you go to Japan, you will find half of them are crazy actually. They are exposed to so much gadgetry that a Japanese kid seems totally lost and half psychotic at the time. And the amount of pornography which is there on the streets, which is a big contrast. We have schools in India, Krishnamurti Foundation schools, and some of the experts who bring up kids like this. But the problem is the pressure of the society and market of bread and butter. By 9th and 10th, they again switch back to the mainstream school. So, I mean, so what I'm saying is difficult to execute, but it can be, provided people sit back, think, and work out. All right, so I'll stop here. Maybe we can have some inputs and questions, and just put on your videos when you're talking. And
yes, sir. Thank you so much for a very, very
Thanks.
thought-provoking, thoughtful, and meaningful session. And friends, we have a few minutes. We have a question in the chat box, sir. I can read it out to you.
Yes,
How to
please.
handle a daughter who went through a lot childhood trauma, as I had a cerebral palsy elder child.
Okay. How old is the kid?
My daughter is 25 years. She says
Ah,
her daughter is
and
25
what is she
years.
doing? What is she doing?
Sudha Shubha ma'am, if you can just give sir the information. Shubha ma'am?
She's a lawyer. I don't have to handle her. She'll handle herself.
Okay.
25 years she can handle other kids also. Now, the thing is, when you're thinking that she has a lot of trauma, it may be guilt of the parent, number one. Second, if she's a lawyer and she's so educated and smart, and if you feel that there is a pressure and you feel you should, I mean, she's a grown up adult, you can always sit across the table and have a chat. All those memories of trauma can be converted to good memories also. But when it is happening, when the kids are growing, if you have somebody in the family who requires special assistance and all, then I think all other kids who are normal should be involved in the care of that person. So it becomes not as a this versus this, but a total community living. And people feel happy doing things. Kids only get problem when they have a special child and they see that my parents are giving a lot of time and they are lost. So don't keep them lost. Pull them in. And all kids will do their first siblings. There'll be problems, there'll be rivalry, there'll be this, that, whatever. All that is human stuff. You know what? There's some controversy going on recently. We did a lit fest and somebody said something, and I told some intellectual today. I said, if you look at the fights between maid and the housewives at home, and you see what is happening in White House, or you see at the political level, or you see with intellectuals of this ism, left and right, if you remove the words, the conflict is the same. That is human nature. And that is coming from the insecurity. People have made their business out of conflicts. I don't know what is the problem with us in the parliament. Yes, Vinita. Parliament is the epitome of our homes. Is the epitome of our homes. Miserable Indian families. Miserable.
Very true.
Unhappy. And they take this unhappiness on the roads. They take this unhappiness in their offices, in their schools, everywhere. I don't know what is the problem with India. Why is India so angry? And then you talk of mental health. And what mental health can you talk about? Who will bring mental health? We talk of love. We talk of Krishna and Radha. And we are all the time people are angry. I'm not being heard. I'm not this. Somebody says the wrong word from a stage, then 5 days people will fight on this. And there'll be an intellectual sitting in Delhi who will write an article on that. Why this? Why that? I wonder that somebody wrote an article. I said, why have you written it? Let it go. He said, no, I had to respond. Then I realized responding is his job. If there are no conflicts, 50% of people will be empty. They have nothing to do. But then I see the same fight happening between drivers, between a housewife and a maid. Same stuff. What is the difference? What culture, civilization we are talking about? We haven't brought out the basic human stuff. You know why we feel happy? Because that basic human stuff of living together is a biological necessity which nature has given to us. So between the selfishness and between altruism, we keep dangling like this. Altruism is inbuilt. To take altruism to empathetic level of Gandhi's and Krishna, that is a great job. But I seriously wonder what is the problem with the world right now? They have enough to eat. They have enough air, sun, everything. Why are people angry? Because I think there are some greedy people sitting everywhere who want the share of everybody. So, yeah, greed. You said Neera, I also said it. Good. We are on the same page.
True, sir. Sir, we have Dr. Venugopal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
He's
Alokji, you know that.
Yes, sir. Venugopal, sir.
Yeah, we had a private chat before, and I have a lot of comments to share, but we don't have the time. But
No,
only a
say.
couple of things. Yeah, I'll call you later.
No, please. Sir, people will get benefited.
No, the time here, the people, they are so obsessed about the time. Okay, now, The one thing about the helicopter parenting, I'm sure that you have heard about that one.
Yes, yes.
Even a person is now becomes an engineer, doctor, 20 years old, 25 years old, still the parents are closely worried about that one. That is what I find, that is the helicopter parenting is not stopping. Then comes, earlier you mentioned that is okay, you talk about no games, then you devise a game. That itself is a contradictory. Children should not. The same way, in this forum, I hear about mindful living, live in the present, don't live in the future or past. And then they talk about vision board, goal setting. The moment you are talking about vision board and goal setting, you have to live in the future. So on one hand, you are talking about mindful parenting. In the other way, you are talking about goal setting. And so I am frequently reminded about the Jesus Christ, what he said, that forgive my Father, forgive them. They know not what they are doing. Okay. That is what is happening. They know not what they are talking about. Okay. Thank you.
No, sir,
Right.
there is another breed of parent which has come up. It's called bulldozer parents. Bulldozer parent will move ahead of the child, keep cleaning the road for them. And Anita, 3 days back, one evening I got very depressed. I was thinking, whatever we do for our children, but we cannot save them from the miseries, the dukkha, the sorrows, the sangarsh, the crisis of life. Right? Whatever we do, we may be Ambani, but still we can't do it. But the question is, then I thought, if we protect them from everything what bulldozer parents do, then we will be stunting their growth. And if we allow them, which we have to allow, to go through the grind of life, we have to bear that amount of suffering, sadness, everything. I don't think there is a alternative. So yeah, let's flow. Things will happen.
So we
Any-
have a question
Yes,
from
please.
I think Dr. Revati, the last
Yeah,
one.
Revati. Yes.
Working as a professor in a college of education, training teachers through B.Ed and M.Ed programs. As an educator, what should I primarily focus on while training the student teachers to facilitate and adapt their teaching services to the current or future generations from a psychological perspective?
If you want one word, I can tell you, Revati. Where are you? Put on your video. Because
Sir,
this word...
I have some network issues, so I'm not able to connect through my video. I'm
Okay,
sorry
then
for-
you'll show me your face later on WhatsApp.
Yes,
But I'm telling
yes.
you the answer right now.
Yes, sir. I'm
If you
eagerly
wa-
waiting.
If you want to teach one thing,
Okay.
that word is called accountability.
Okay, sir.
That what you do,
Hmm.
you have to bear the consequences of it.
Right.
Gracefully, patiently,
Hmm.
in a stoic manner. And one, that life never ends. When it will end, it will end. Till that time, falling has no problem. Not getting up is a problem.
Yes, sir.
So try, decide for yourself, be responsible for that. Fail, fall, whatever. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. That's it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Right? Okay, you can note down my number so we can always, any of you can get onto WhatsApp with me. 98390 27402. Got it? 98390 27402. Wonderful. All right, so have a good Saturday and enjoy a beer or whatever you want to drink.
One question. from
Yes, yes,
Sir,
yes, yes,
with
please.
kind permission, may I request Meenakshi ma'am?
Yes, somebody wanted to ask something. One question.
One question
Yes,
in the chat.
Yes,
is,
yes,
person having attachment with someone, so they
yes.
started consider them as a cleansey, and then people started neglecting, giving silent treatment and get him or for granted. So attachment is a good or bad, or it is only depend on some pride, or and how such person balance themselves. I think you're muted, sir.
Attachment is good in the sense it is natural. You have to get attached, otherwise how you will never be a social being. Too much of attachment is obsession, right? Even in love, love, I call love as the nearest physiological state which is nearest to psychosis. your mind is not in touch with reality when you're in love. The problem is most of the people in love get married. But love, dopamine goes up and dopamine comes down in 3 years. So all that love shove is gone. Then you have to live with the habit of the person. That habit becomes an obsession. So Indian thought system was very intelligent. They never said papa, punya, good or bad. They said sakti, asakti. Asakti means attachment and anasakti is detachment. Stoic detachment. Right? So attachment is good, but don't take anything, excess of anything is bad. Don't bring in anything which can obstruct your flow in life or movement of life. But kids will do it. Kids will do it. Let them do it. Let them learn. They'll fall, rise. Don't die. Keep doing things. So don't get into this good bad. There's nothing good on bad. Please understand this. This is a very, very people. We have been taught to think in this way. I'm saying what is good and bad? Nature has made it. Or you believe in God, God has made it. What is good or bad? What is good for you and bad is for you to decide. You have to take that call. And don't, by the fear of getting hurt, I will not love. That is nonsense. I will not get attached because that will cause hurt. Hey, what is there? Life is for experience. Anyway, after 150 years, none of us will be there who are alive today. Will there be anybody alive at that time? Any of you is going to be there for next 150 years? No. And after 150 years, people will come with different technology. They'll laugh at you. Who are these people who are idiots sitting with a laptop and talking all this? We don't even bother. So the world will change from caveman to us. And please, trust me, we are still cavemen with the same passions, emotional passions, with some civilization which we have built up, and we have learned language, and we talk big and tech colleges and institutes and psychiatry and this and that. They are all divisions to understand and facilitate life. But what facilitates life, nobody knows. So don't worry, enjoy life. When somebody comes to you with a lot of attachment, say, go balance it, boss. All right, Anita, you will send me the recording of this.
Sure, sir. I will share it with you, sir. And with your kind permission, may I request Meenakshi ma'am to go ahead with the vote of thanks, sir?
How can we empower? Okay. Ask me on WhatsApp, whatever question you have.
Sure. You can connect with sir. Meenakshi ma'am, over to you, Meenakshi ma'am.
Thank you, sir. It's a wonderful section. And we, as a message, we have to spread that every child is a unique and they have the capacity to take the decision on the vote and they have to develop themselves. It's a good message for us to spread among the society. Thank you very much.
I will tell you 2 books which have come up this year. Yeah. One, which I wrote, one is called Krishna Vasudev. It's a Krishna which is talking about his own life, which is in English also on Amazon. The other one is called Life, Death, God, Biology to Mythology. All right, you just put it on Amazon. If you get a hang of it, just go through it. We will discuss it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Accept the gratitude from American College Madurai, Department of Psychology, American College Madurai, with the President Associate Partner, Yellow Pond Counseling Center, Nolumbur, and Deccan Positive Mental Health Practitioners Association. Thank you, sir. We need.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Section from you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anita.
Thank you, sir. I'm grateful for this.
Send me the